You're now listening to D&D live on demand. What up, world? Welcome back to Breaking Command, a D&D football podcast. As always, you got your man, Darian D.H. Williams, and my partner in crime, Darren Midget, a.k.a. we like to call him D-Mitty. D-Mitty, what's up, bro?
Feeling good, feeling great. How you doing tonight, King?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. We're 2-2, and I'm glad we're here at this situation. You know, of course, it's been tough. It's been rough. We lost 34-31 yesterday in overtime against the Eagles. Who would have thought that? But we're here now, man. We're here.
You know what, man? And we haven't spoke since week one. And I mean, I just feel like right now, the team is at 2-2 in a really good place because our quarterback was able to learn something. And I don't want to say moral. We had some moral victories, as B Mitch said today on 106.7. We've had some losing lessons.
There you go. Losing lessons. And look, we'll get into all that and more because we got a lot to catch up on. We haven't talked since week one, like you said. So we got a few things to go over and we'll get to that. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that this is your first time listening to the podcast. We appreciate you pulling up. And if you're a regular, thank you for coming back. Of course, you only do that if you like, subscribe, and share with a friend. And if you feel so inclined to leave us a 5-star review, you can get your 5 seconds of fame. That's it. That's all. And I got to start doing some of these 5 seconds of fame because people are leaving reviews. So I got to start giving them shout outs. So I'll definitely do that. Of course, make sure you follow us on X. No, it's X now because I've heard everybody saying it's X. So make sure you follow us on X.
And people are still saying Twitter.
Right. And get all your Commanders content right here from us. So D-Mitty, let's get into it real quick, man. We'll first talk about the game yesterday. We lost to the Philadelphia Eagles 34-31 in overtime. A pretty well played game by Sam Howell and the Commanders. Give me your initial thoughts on how the game went yesterday in Philly.
I feel like if I was to compare it to a boxing match, Philly, to an extent, almost, they outpunched us in a certain in certain rounds, but there were rounds that Washington had their haymakers. They made some good plays, but they didn't make enough explosive plays, and that's something I've always harped on as a fan, that Washington has not been able to capitalize on making explosive plays, whether on defense, offense, or special teams. And my whole thought of the game as an overall, if I gave it like a letter grade, I would give them a C+ because you lost the game for one. Two, there there were plays left on the field, and at the end of the day, you really can't give a higher grade when you lose. Less learning lessons, you know what I mean? Lost losing lessons, I should say.
Hey, man, listen, I will say this. Losing 34-31 to a team that went to Super Bowl last year and who's pretty much on everybody's radar to kind of make it back, I feel like
To the Super Bowl, yep.
yeah, I feel like we played a great game. Granted, I would have liked to win, but I think my fandom has kind of changed over the past year or so. I'm able, and especially as being a coach, I'm able to really look at the wins and losses kind of differently. Like the Buffalo loss was a bad loss. Okay, I'm not saying this loss was a good loss, but we played better as a team. We really fought late, having late last minute drives, having an opportunity to beat a good team. So I think that was important. Sam rebounded very well and really showed that he is him. The Commanders may have a quarterback for the immediate future, which is what I like to hear because that's my guy. And that's the formula. That's the formula, getting them on a rookie deal and being able to maximize it.
Absolutely.
Yesterday he showed that he can do that, getting the guys the ball and getting the touches, and he's unflappable, man. Some guys would have folded after having a week like they had against Buffalo. Some guys wouldn't have came back up and tried to get it done, but he pulled up like it was like nothing happened and played great football and led the team yesterday. It was a point that I wanted to make to you yesterday, and it's something we've been saying kind of all season. Well, actually, this is something that's kind of been a part of Ron Rivera's tenure here, is that the team tends to start slow, right? Yesterday, that wasn't the case. They went down, had a long drive, and scored on the first drive. Uh, um, the first drive this year, we scored. And I thought it was remarkable how they did it. And it just they look, I don't know, flawless, but they look very comfortable yesterday. Was that coming across to you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as in in my perception of how it looks different on the EB as far as play calling, you can tell that this offense, even though the receivers and the quarterback are all learning this scheme, that they're still giving 100% effort from beginning to end, and you can see a total difference from the opening bell to the last bell.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think they respect out of EB. Like I feel like the guys we got real workman type guys. Like not too much flash. We got a couple guys with some flash and flair, but we got real workmen. You know what I'm saying? Like guys that come to work, lunch pail, they're gonna do their job.
Blue collar guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a lot of those guys, and I feel like with EB at the helm, he's really pushing them. Like EB for me called almost a flawless game yesterday. Uh,
Yeah.
he just didn't have some execution on the field, but you look at it, he was able to get the ball out quick, get Sam out of some of these situations. And to Sam's credit, he pulled the ball down early and decided to run a lot of times. And it helped. You know, he got able to get some scramble yards, and I mean, it's that one play where it was like Houdini, man. He got out.
Yeah, I think I know what play you're talking about. It's almost like he ducked. It was like a third down. I think I could be wrong, but he ducked out of a sack, and I think he got about 5 to 7 yards on the run, man. And I was like, man, that's elusiveness. Like that was almost, and I don't want to use the previous quarterback's name, but it looked kind of like him, but with a better arm.
I mean, I mean, he played well, and he just, played with his hair on fire yesterday, and he's cool, calm, and collected, and I love that about him. But I got to switch gears, man. I got to really talk about this defense, man. Something that this this organization's kind of hung its hat on for the last few seasons. Uh, I don't think the defensive play is been on par with what we've needed. I mean, this is the third consecutive game where they're giving up 30 or more points. Granted, we won 2 of those 3 games, but they're still giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards, and we're giving up points late, causing them to be in the game, whether it's Denver, in Buffalo. Well, last week I'll say the first half of the Buffalo game, they gave up 16 points. Um, but they still ended up giving up touchdowns late, and then giving up, 34 points this week. What do you feel about the defense and how that's going? And do you think it's time for a scheme change, a coaching change? Like what may need to change on defense, if anything?
I like how you alluded to that because right at the end, when you say scheme change, or coaching. I mean, or I'm gonna just say scheme change because I was just talking to you earlier and telling you that I feel like sometimes you can see where the DBs are to an extent overthinking the route concept or just where they're at in their zone to a certain extent, and if they have safety help, and it looks as if they're getting burnt, but it's pretty much the scheme. So I do feel like in certain instances, maybe even not for a full game or a full quarter, but there needs to be some scheme changes as far as even blitzing. So I would say scheme change.
I'll say this: I am happy that Chase Young is back. He has been affecting the game, becoming a game record that he is. He has 3 sacks since his return. He's got pressure. I think our defensive line has been the constant. They've been doing well, but
Absolutely.
the back seven, man, has been questionable at times. Jamin has been pretty consistent. Um, but what's the other linebacker? Not Cole Holcomb. It's Barton.
Yeah.
Been very
You miss Cole too? I miss Cole too, brother.
and then our DBs have opportunities to make picks, but they're not getting their hands on the ball. Emmanuel Forbes had a tough day yesterday, and people are
Hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there. Kendall Fuller has gotten his picks. Kendall Fuller, I will give him his just due. I mean, at the tender age of 28, he out there playing, man.
the tender age of 28. Boy, what I wouldn't give to be 20. Tell you what.
Again.
But no, man, defense getting their hands on on the ball. They just got to make these picks. But AJ Brown went off yesterday, and I've seen a lot of information or a lot of tweets about Forbes today where people are kind of going in and ready to jump ship and
It's the
comparing
casuals, man.
dollars, man. Like what was that about, man? Like he had a tough game yesterday, but Fred Snoop said it on their show. Um, tell me a corner that hasn't got beat and I tell you a person that hasn't played corner. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna
Thank
happen.
you.
Like Dion got beat, people have gotten off on him. Like it's, I mean, that's a part of the
Come
game.
on, man.
And corner's a tough job, man.
But one thing I will kind of piggyback on Deion Sanders and go into the whole corner playing the corner thing. Sometimes you have to, when you see it, you have to believe it and play to it. That's something I hear Dion preach to his players and preach to his DBs, especially Shiloh, his son that plays on DB for him. Like if you see it, trust it. Like don't overthink it, which is going back to what I was saying earlier. And I feel like the fans, going to back what you were saying about whether the fans take on like Emmanuel Forbes, do you really understand scheme? Do you know what you're seeing? If you don't understand what you're seeing and you just think it's just, one-on-one backyard football, then you solely mistaken on what you're watching when you watching these games every Sunday.
No, absolutely, man. I just think that, I mean, this goes back to scheme. And right, some of these
Absolutely.
calls can be schemed up, and our corners can be put in better positions if we're blitzing more up front, because you may be able to get some of those interceptions due to the pressure going on the quarterback. But I think they did pretty solid yesterday in keeping Jalen Hurts contained. He didn't really do too much. Of course, they had that tush push like they always do, and that's been working. But I think it's important that those guys played. They played 4 quarters yesterday, and they fought hard and they fought tough. And I just think at this point in the season, man, like nobody suggested, no, nobody expected rather for us to be 2-2 at this point, 4 games in, and kind of really having a lot to build on and being positive and happy with our point output. And playing that the way that we've been playing. So I think we, at this point in the first quarter of the season, we found out that we have a dog in Sam. We have an offensive coordinator that can really scheme up the good plays. And then we also have a defense that can be aggressive at times. It can make stops at times, but they just need some work. So I know a lot of people at this point are frustrated that we are 2-2, but a lot of them are not willing to admit that they expected us to be 2-2 at this point in the season.
Right. And I think I had called out one of our guests, and one of the Commanders content creators, George Carmion. He flipped on this on his picks he had on the show when he went with Buffalo on our show, but then he picked Buffalo. He picked us to beat Buffalo after we beat Denver. And I mean, I get it. I most definitely understand why he went the way he went, because after that win and toughing out that win in Arizona, you, the the confidence in his team highly changed. And I truly feel like for this team going into Philly, oh, my confidence was really like, I really felt like it was going to be a knockout, drag out fight, but we were going to be the victors coming out, because this is a divisional game. They know us, we know them type of situation, and I just really hope that going into this short week against Chicago, that they're still that same team, but once again they're getting more and more confident in that locker room.
Yeah, man. And this with this team, man, it's, I don't know, man. Like I feel like we're kind of establishing our identity. We're just kind of figuring out who we are, and we're establishing who we are. And it's a week to week league, man. Like if you put last week's game against this week and put it together, it's two different. I mean, it's two very different weeks, and they played well. And I mean, you look at Philly, right? We've played Philly well as of late. You know what I mean? Beating them last year, losing to them early last year, 24-8, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yep, yep.
playing them very well as of late. And I mean, shoot, it's the Georgia Alabama game, bro. Every time we play,
Every time, whoever it's a SEC fight when football fight when you playing Philly or playing in any team in this division. But I feel like this team has played those those teams outside of Buffalo. They've played those teams like you are not just gonna come in and get an easy win. And even in the Buffalo game, even though the score showed different, Buffalo fans and casual fans will look at that score and be like, they got their tails whooped. Washington was in the game for 3 quarters. for the greater part of 3 quarters, and they let the game slip out of their hands because they tried to win the game on every play, even before that and during the time the game started to slip out, where they try to score 2 touchdowns on one throw. Sam, that is an EB. So that's kind of how it went. But this team is not a lay down team. You're not just looking at watching. Oh, we got that done.
No, for sure, for sure. And before we go back to the Buffalo game, I kind of want to ask: do you go for two yesterday? Do you go for two in that situation after driving down under 1 minute, driving down, getting the scoring the
Hmm.
game tying play? Like, do you go for overtime like they did, or do you go for two and try to get the win on the road?
I'm the opposite side of the coin when it comes to the coaches that are like the 99% of the coaches that's going to go for the one and take it in the OT. I say go for it to your way. What better? And I know this sounds personal, and it is personal. What better way to shut up that crowd? What better way to shut up those Philly fans? What better way to slap Nick Sirianni's organization in the face by going for two, winning the game in the final seconds, and going in the locker room and playing that. I don't know whose song it is, but I know the words go, "Walk in your trap, take over your trap."
Mm,
You know what I mean? So
for sure.
I felt like that was the best way to end that game in my opinion. And if they would have went for two, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and they missed it, I would have been like, okay, cool. You showed me that you were going to put all your cards on the table.
I mean, I take it back to a game in 2019 where um, Carolina played Clemson and they were able to drive down. Sam was the quarterback, and Mac Brown went for two, try to get the win in regulation, and they didn't get it, and they ended up losing. And Matt kind of stood on it. He said, "Hey, look, it was an opportunity against a good team. Wanted to see if we could steal one." And they didn't give him hell about it. I think what comes with Ron Rivera, right, is that people are so ready to move on from him that he can't do anything incorrectly. Everything he does is
Hmm.
going to be second guessed, and that's unfair
Hmm.
to him as a coach because had he not got it, had he went for two and not got it, you would say, "Oh, you should have kicked it." Overtime. And then the thing about it is, we had an opportunity to win in an overtime and didn't get it. So had we got it in overtime and we won, nobody would be talking about him going for two
No.
in
Mm-mm.
regulation or kicking for the field goal.
No.
It's about decision making, bro. That's why I leave it up to the professionals, bro. And in most
Respectful.
cases, like I think he could have chose a different answer when he said he thought his guys were gassed, and they probably were.
True indeed. True indeed. And I feel wrong because I sometimes put my foot in my mouth too sometimes. And you got especially in a public setting, you got to understand what tone you're setting when you answer those type of questions.
And I think because I heard today that I forget which I was listening to Peyton Manning, he was on Pat McAfee show, and he said normally before the drive starts, you kind of know if you're going for two or kicking for one, and that's kind of a common thing. Like a lot of coaching staffs and their systems say, hey, if we score in this every drive, if we score in this drive, we going for two, or if we score in this drive, we kicking for one. I just think that's important to kind of know what's going on beforehand. Um, and especially you're going to drive down there. And I'm 100% sure that EB had a 2-point play that he could have went to in that situation. But I think they wanted to play it this way because they have been working all game and kept it pretty close. And I feel like they felt going into the end of the game that they were going to be able to hold it down and play the way that they played all game, which is good, solid defense. Sam at the helm, and I feel like they said, if we play like this, we don't want to waste what we just did, and giving it right back. If they could have just, played well, made another play here. I mean, it's a different.
Right. And I feel like Sam, man. And one thing I love about Sam, both during the game and after the game, he shows so much confidence. It's not moxie, man. That man shows so much maturity each and every game. As far as, okay, I know where I made mistakes, and I'm here to help this team win. And when you can say that confidently, from with when you win or lose, to me that shows a true leader. Like he shows me that when it comes to collecting his dogs, and getting them to hey, they're ready. I can just say I can tell they're ready to run through a wall for him. And Coach Ron was there, even though sometimes Ron get on my nerves with the things he say and how he looks on the sideline with his demeanor. But you know what though? When I hear those post game speeches when we win, and I hear Ron talk sometimes, like when he slipped up and said he slipped up and dropped the I think it was an F bomb or the S bomb when he said I don't like winning. I'm like that's my coach.
True, for sure. Hey, look, we'll spend a few seconds on this Buffalo game. Um, Bad performance all around. But after that Buffalo game, getting smoked like we did, what do you think the team learned by taking that L like that last week?
I would say that they learned that they know that they weren't they they were in a they were in a different weight class. Like they stepped out of weight class in that particular fight. I know I'm using the boxing analogy and stuff, but that's the best way for me to understand it and to perceive when you go into a game like that and it comes out that way. Yeah, you weren't really fit to be in the ring with that particular team at that time, and especially after seeing what Buffalo did to Miami afterwards.
Smoked them.
So Washington is still growing, and I know they understand. Like, you know what? I'm pretty sure being confident guys and being professional athletes, I'm pretty sure they would say, you know what? Even though we took the loss away we did, we don't want to lose like that ever again.
For sure. For sure. No, I agree, man. And they get a chance to do it again this Thursday against the Chicago Bears. But before we get into that, I want to remind you if you're here, we appreciate you for tuning in. We'll make sure you stay here. So you like, subscribe, and share with a friend. And please leave us a review and some comments, man. Tell us how great we're doing. Tell us how beautiful I look. You know what I'm saying? Or how beautiful we look, rather. Give all up. But we play Chicago this Thursday. Quick turnaround. Um, I definitely feel like this is a statement game that you can make, or this could be a trap game where Justin Fields finally plays well, and the Bears get off the schneid. But I think we should be able to put the young man under some pressure, under some duress, and make some plays. How you feel this Bears game is going to go this weekend or this Thursday rather?
If I had to give my prediction or where I see this game, how I see this game playing, it's going to be similar to last year's Thursday night game. It's going to be a fight because for one, it's on a short week. Two, they're a professional outfit. I show respect to all these professional athletes because one, they out there doing something that I'm definitely not doing. For one, and two, if they want to keep their job, they're going to go out there and give it their all. And Justin Fields is not a slouch. I have respect for Justin Fields. I was on the bandwagon that I wanted Ron and company to move up to get Justin Fields. I test. And you have a team in Washington that's coming off of two losses the way that they did in a short week. Those guys are going to be winded to a certain degree, if I could put it in that sense. So I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I know people want to see Washington or us fans, our peers probably want to see us win 34-10, but it may not go that way.
Remember, we thought the Cardinals game was going to be a rout. We thought the Cardinals game was going to just be
Trust.
a walk off, and it wasn't. It was a dogfight. We won, but it was a dogfight. So I think it could be more of the same here. Like you said, last year's game was maybe not 12-7, but I think it may be a one score game. I think it may be a one score game, and we'll have
I'd
opportunity.
rather see 21-14.
Yeah, something like that, man. 24-10, 24-17. You know, so a
Right.
game.
It's a prime time game, man. Put up some points, man.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Well, D Mitty, look, man, this has been a quick episode, bro. Like we ain't doing the most, we ain't getting out the way. I guess probably because we got a short turnaround, and we'll be able to come back and
Absolutely.
wrap up this Bears episode, man. So we both taking us with the dub this week,
Hey,
huh?
trust me, man. I'm gonna call my prediction right here, brother. I said 21-14, and I'm going with us. I'm going Washington, man. Left hand up.
Bad, I like that. We're gonna be there's my left hand. 3-2. after Thursday, man. It should be a fun time. Of course, make sure you continue to follow the podcast. It's Breaking Command, a D&D football podcast. Of course, you're here on the YouTube page. Make sure you click subscribe before you go. And if you see this out and about anywhere on your social media, go ahead and send that retweet, man. Go ahead and send it back on Twitter so they can see it, man. But of course, as always, for my partner in crime, D Mitty, this is your man DH, and I want to thank you for tuning in to Breaking Command, a D&D football podcast. And we will see you next time on the Breaking Command podcast. Let's hope the Commanders get another dub and we finish 3-2. But we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.